Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Greg Sabala, Vice President of Marketing over here at National Brokerage. I'm joined with Mike Toy. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us on our webcast today of redefining our commitment to your success. We're going to be discussing a couple different things today of where we've been, what we have had for you guys, and the tools that are available to you currently, and where we're going in the near future, trying to show our dedication to not only what we do today, but we're going to be committed for your success in the future as well. With that, I want to kind of just jump into it real quickly. First and foremost, we're going to hear about a lot of technology that we have because we've spent a lot of time and effort to procure the best products and the best process for you and your clientele. But one thing I don't ever want to lose as a real big focus is you have a dedicated representative to help you through your process. They get to know you. They know your process, they know your style of doing insurance, and they can predicate most of their verbiage around that when they're coming back to you and the messaging and the quoting. So I really love that marriage that we have and getting to know what's important to you so our quotes are matching what you want to see for your clientele. So whether it be underwriting niches, carrier selection, or even you're trying to look at overall, marketing efforts, we can help you out with that, and each of your individual marketing reps are best suited as your primary contact at National Brokerage. With that, you are also assigned a specific case manager. So those case managers will be the only one that's working on your case unless they're out on a PTO or something of that nature. They'll be working on the case, and we want you to get to know them and you let them know what you're looking for, how you do your business. And they can also work on dovetailing what they do around what's important to you. Our sole purpose is obviously placing business, doing it on a simplified basis for you and for your customer as best that we can, taking the pain points out of what insurance is, and which is, of course, a very painful process. We're trying to make it easier for you and your client, and we're wanting to do that with a personal approach, but also having a lot of systems and tools behind the scenes. So you're going to hear a lot about the different marketing tools that we have, some of this different stuff that we're going to be coming out with and launching in fourth quarter of this year and first quarter of next year. I think it's going to set us very much apart from anybody else in the industry. But always want to keep in mind you have a live body to help you out. I do want to stress as well, you also have online case status available to you at for any business you've done. So keep that in mind. A lot of people are always calling for, hey, I need to know what's going on with my case. You have access to that 24/7, and we do not hide any notes. So that's another thing that's nice is if you want to see what we've been doing on your case, click on that, and you can look at everything that we've been working on your case sequentially. You can look at it specifically to an APS or anything of that nature. It's kind of a nice way to have a window into what's going on. So if the client calls you, you can't be blindsided. You can just simply log in, take a look at the case, and look like you're working their case that day right before they gave you a call. Presently, NBGO is the big push that we have. It's the best way to submitting life insurance, in my humble opinion. It takes the pain points out for you and your client. We're trying to simplify the process, not only for you so that you can market and do other things of that nature, but let's also not forget about the client. A lot of times we are thinking of, hey, this is what's important to me. This is what's going to help me out on my day. What's a client's expectation when purchasing a product, whether it be insurance or Nike shoes? It doesn't really matter. They are usually looking for simplicity, and they have an expectation of, hey, there's technology out here. Why aren't we using it? So one thing about it, like e-signing, that's a minor little thing in our world for the brokerage because we've taken it for granted because we've had e-sign forever and a day. You're going to hear of a different company name by the name of Cover. That's our sister company. Basically, we have the independent brokerage side, which is National Brokerage, and we have a financial institution side, which is CoverTech. CoverTech, because the financial institutions have so much rules, not every big bank even allows DocuSign currently. So what sounds archaic to us, and oh my gosh, we can DocuSign an application and we can do it all e-sig. That's our commitment to you. That's with NBGO. We're making the process simpler. We're making it so the client can have immediate gratification when they're done with the call with our app team, that they are signing on the application, showing their commitment to you and to the carrier, and also then proceeding with their medical exam. So this is where common sense meets technology. from your standpoint, it's easy quote. You've got an easy way to quote it. You've got an easy way to navigate over to the submittal of the process, and the paperwork's always going to be clean. It's an award-winning platform with AM Best, so you know what you have is a quality system, but also it keeps you for any DOL changes that are going on fiduciary responsibility. It's keeping you compliant to the process as well, which is key. It's going to be a good way to cover your tail of what you're trying to do, not only today, but into the future, making sure that 5 years from now, if you took an application and a client says, hey, you know what, when they took the application, they didn't do this right, or I did not sign this. We could add a click of a button, show them, here's when you docu-signed it, here's how you docu-signed it, here's the email address it's sent from, boom. Now you are now covered, and we keep this forever. So basically, you now have a permanent record of that transaction. With that, I'm going to hand this over to Mike Toy.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for that introduction. I hope everybody can hear me. If you can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll speak louder. So I'm going to focus for a minute on some of the features of NBGO. So we talked about the benefits and the way it can benefit you and your clients. So I'm going to talk about the features. One of the main features that doesn't get talked about a lot is the professional application team that actually takes the app for you. So when you submit a quote via NBGO, that quote goes to our application team specialist. They call the client on your behalf and go over the application with them over the phone. And that's good for a few reasons. Number one, they don't do any selling. They only focus on taking the application, which is a good thing. That means all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted and everything gets done correctly. Not to say that you or I couldn't do it correctly, but when that's their sole focus and sole job, they do it pretty close to perfectly. Also, there's less time going back to the client that way. They gather as much information as they can at that time, such as scheduling paramed exams and so forth, getting old policy info, excuse me, all the things that would normally be kind of a back and forth. We erase all that time by getting it all done the first time and completing it the first time. So let's see. So we talked about scheduling the exam. And then handing it off to the application specialist. And then another feature of NBGO, as Greg mentioned, is full case management. So when you submit the case, the application team member then goes to your client on your behalf, takes the app, it goes to a case manager. And this case manager, they do everything else that's necessary. Order APS records if needed, deal with the underwriter, go back to the client if there is more information needed. So that's a little bit about the case management.
And one thing to also keep in mind there is they will go to you if they're at an impasse. If the client isn't communicating with them or they can't get a piece of information, they're going to go back to you. Otherwise, they just go back to your client. So that the purpose of that is we want to really have you able to focus on the next sale and dedicating your time to that rather than working on case management or anything that you've already sold. You've already done your job. You sold the case. We're going to take the application. One thing to Mike's point, right now with our application team, and we take a couple thousand applications a month now. I mean, we're doing a great deal of applications with the National Brokerage and CoverTech side. So we're pretty good at what we do, and so we've narrowed down the timeline. So a typical application, depending on carrier, takes anywhere between 17 and 23 minutes currently within our data. And honestly, if I were to take an application, I'd probably fumble through it. It'd probably take me about an hour. Just being honest with you, because I'm not that familiar with the pages. I don't know if you need a replacement form, even though they're not replacing with this particular carrier. I don't know each state's regulations and state forms. So we don't want you guys to have to deal with that either. So that's one thing to keep in mind to help simplify your process. And here's kind of a visual of the steps that you would be doing and then the steps that we would be doing.
Thanks, Greg. Excuse me. So not to harp on this cycle too much, but just to give you a quick look at what you do. So you would be doing steps 1, 2, and 3. You access NBGO, you run a quote for your client, and then you submit that quote to NBGO. And then from there, you can see that we do steps 4 through 10, which is contacting the client, taking the application, ordering parameds, gathering signatures, dealing with underwriters, obtaining APSs if needed, getting the approval or whatever the case is there. But then in the end, you get to be the hero still and deliver the policy to your client. So it's a little bit cleaner process for you, and it saves you so much time of all the busy work in the middle.
And a key component is still a full commission. There's no reduction of commission. We're just trying to make the process a little bit more simplified. One last slide before I kind of get onto some of the future tools that we're going to be bringing to the table. I think will be very fascinating to everybody on the call. Is why a lot of people aren't writing a lot of insurance or as much life insurance as they had in the past. We have a great deal of you that are diversified in your portfolio of offerings. So you might be doing property casualty. You might be a financial advisor that does life insurance as a portion of it. And life insurance with the carriers, it's just a time-consuming process. So just keep in mind, don't shy away from it because of your pre-existing exposure to life insurance and the difficulties of it. With us, we're trying to take out the pain points so that you can focus on your marketing, get the sales sold, let us deal with the case, and cases are a living, breathing thing, and they do take some time, but we also realize it's a commodity. We got to get that offer back out to the client quickly, because the quicker you get an offer back out to the client, the higher the place percentage is. So we understand those variables, and we pride ourselves to getting it to the finish line. Okay, kind of a fun slide here is committed to the future, and what are we going to be bringing to the table? So obviously we did the MBGO. We have MBGO out there. We are a very big proponent of the MBGO, and we think it's a great way to market to your clients. Some of the things you're going to see in the next quarter and next year is the new quoter. So basically we're going to have a new quote engine that is our proprietary system. So this is going to be National Brokerage's tools. It's not a utilization of iPipeline or CompuLife or any other tools. It's going to be, not to bore you with detail, but it's going to be a direct DTCC feed to the carrier. So the carrier, as they change their cost of insurance, as a carrier changes their standard rate class, and maybe they increase it or decrease it, typically that code goes to iPipeline, and that's how they get updated. It's going to go directly to our quote engine. So we're going to have the term quote engine, which will also include all the different riders. And that's a very key component, in my opinion. Carriers like North American, for example, as of the 24th of this month, they're going to have living benefits on their term. There's not a lot of carriers that have true living benefits on their term. So that's a big variable. Can you quote it? Can you look at it? Can you show your clients that type of quote? It's going to be a really cool thing and give you a marketing advantage in those particular situations. Also, we're going to have an IUL comparison quoting tool. So you can enter in your client information and look at key components. What's the premium dedication for this particular thing? What's the cash accumulation at age 65 and maybe at age 70? And it'll be on a comparison software. So basically it's going to show you kind of like a term quote would, quick options. So I think that's a really good situation for you, because you can now look at different options in front of your client with different carriers and say, okay, what company is the best for me on an IUL sale? And then we can run the full illustrations for you like we currently do as well. But you can call us and narrow your scope with the quoter. So I think for one, that's going to be a huge step, and that would probably be first quarter of 2019 that'll be coming out. You'll probably see the term first and then the IUL coming into the quoter. But again, only National Brokerage and CoverTech are going to have this quoter because it's our particular system. The next thing that's going to be coming as well is the simplified issue products and the drop ticket basis. And so these are also exclusive for National Brokerage. Currently, if you want to utilize Banner App Assist, any of the protective life, the simplified underwriting processes, NBGO takes your information on the application team and they're entering it on your behalf with the individual carriers. We want to take that step out. And the reason we want to take that step out is simply put, we call your client and then the carrier calls your client. So we want to make that process much more simplified, so either the carrier is the only one calling or we're the only ones calling. And so we're currently working with different carriers and getting them to utilize a lot of our technology and marry their technology with it. So we're going to be launching this right now. We're probably thinking at earliest the end of fourth quarter of 2018, at latest first quarter of 2019. But what it'll be, when you go to NBGO, you're going to have another option that says the simplified issue product. So if you only wanted to go, for example, non-med up to up to $1 million of coverage for term insurance or even permanent coverage, hey, I only want to look at the companies that can do this on a non-med basis. you can click on that placard, and it's going to bring up these carriers that we're going to have. It's going to be 3 to 5 carriers, Banner, Protective, North American possibly. We're working with numerous carriers, but it's going to be one process, the same process. So nothing different for you, nothing different for the client. There's going to be a lot different behind the scenes that we are working with the carriers with, however, and going to get that process taken care of for you. So the benefit of it is obvious. You're going to have a non-med opportunity. You're going to have a simplified process. Most of these carriers are priding themselves to getting the policy to issue depending on a week to 2 weeks. So that's going to take a lot of our underwriting hassles out of the situation, and it's going to be a huge benefit to you. So that's, again, another dedication of what we're trying to do, because we understand from listening to you some of the pain points that you guys are having. So we don't take that lightly. We truly do appreciate the input that you have and your insight that you bring to our company. Policy Insights. What this is we purchased a company and now we've changed the technology of it. Long story short, it's a way to harvest your existing client data from carriers and use it in a more robust manner. So basically how that means is I have 1,000 clients that I have active with a couple different carriers out there. We can get through that feed that I mentioned earlier their current information. So are they still active? What's their cash accumulation on a permanent plan, on a term product? Are they in the 9th year of a 10-year policy? And we can flag out the opportunities for you. So rather than you fumbling through 1,000 case files trying to find those opportunities, we can say, hey, look, of your 1,000 cases, you have 20 people that have one more year of the level term product. They need to convert and or get a new policy. Now you have a concise client to call, say, hey, you've got one more year of coverage. Let's discuss your opportunities. Do you want to convert this, which is great premium for you, simplified process as well? Or do you want to get a new product and get another term that we can extend out? Again, perpetuating another sale for you. Conversely, you have a permanent plan. Our system will acknowledge, hey, the cash accumulation is dwindling on a permanent plan, and we think this is a ticking time bomb. It'll notify you that the cash is diminishing and that you might not have much, maybe 5 more years on this policy. If you can go to the client today saying, hey, I noticed that your policy is going down because I monitor it, and you know what, let's get you into a better carrier. One, what does that client think of you? Oh my gosh, they're giving me a call proactively. What a good agent. They are really good at what they do. 2, it gets you another sale. So I mean, it's never a negative connotation that goes with you calling out to your client. Whether you make the sale or not, it's still going to be well received and bolster your relationship with your client for the other things that you do with them or possibly a future insurance opportunity. So again, that'll be coming probably within the next month or so that you'll be seeing that coming out. And then last but not least, we're continuously committed to launching new tools and features giving you a competitive advantage. We do listen to you. We love your input. A lot of you have vocalized some different hassles that you have within insurance, and that's where most of these tools are predicated from, is from your input. So it's not us sitting behind the scenes trying to figure it out or trying to make our own assessments. It's listening to your input and taking it into action. So, more to come, but these are the ones that are right now going to be coming out in the not so distant future. And as we have different launches, we'll let you guys know. But we are committed to continuing this process. So if you're married with National Brokerage, just know that not only today, but 5 years from now, you're going to have the cutting edge technology in your industry, because that's what we want to be. We want to be a service leader and a technology leader.
So just to summarize everything that Greg said, number one, I really think that some of those tools mentioned, especially the simplified issue options on the new quote engine that shows you what the simplified issue options are, that is going to set you apart from everyone else in the industry, because that is exclusive for national brokerage agents. So keep that in mind too. It's going to give you the edge time-wise, because you won't have to do all the homework, whereas everyone else will. So just to summarize some of these points, on MBGO. So quicker underwriting. On average, this saves about 18 days compared to the normal or traditional way of doing applications. And it also keeps you in continuous communication with the clients, and which leads to better placement. Let's see. It helps you place a higher percentage of business. On average right now, we're placing about 14% higher than other brokerage business used to. And that's just an average. I think in most cases it's actually higher than that. There's just a few rare ones occasionally that brings that down a little bit. And then also, like we talked about, you spend less time processing the life insurance applications. So not only just saving you time doing the applications, but saving you time going back and fixing this or crossing this T or dotting this I. So it saves you a lot of time there. And that gives you more time to do more selling. So at the end of the day, at the end of the quarter, end of the year, you will have placed more business and you will have done it easier and more efficiently than you would have doing it the traditional way, which in the end will make you more money.
And that's the reason we do the communication. That's key components. So, 18 days faster in underwriting, but we're keeping the client continuously apprised of the case. The reason that's so valuable, LIMR statistics show that a lot of clients, when they send in an application, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and a lot of times they lose interest in the sale. So basically, we want to make sure we're staying in front of them with key components. Hey, we have everything in. We're going to have the offer to you soon. Keeping apprised of what's going on. We will order an APS is what we're going to be doing. Because they're engaged, they're more prone to places at the end of the day, hence the reason part of the higher place percentage. And obviously, when it gets to the finish line that much quicker, that's always going to lead to a higher place percentage as well. Life insurance sales, I'm going to blow through this pretty quickly. Just basically, life insurance ownership is down. That's an opportunity for us. Clients don't have the insurance that they used to. So the percentage, so for every 10 people, there used to be more insurance on each of those 10 people. Now there isn't. And it's because a lot of times people don't want to deal with the hassles of it, don't want to deal with the dedication of it. And you would be surprised at how many clients really think that insurance is just crazy expensive, when you and I know that it's actually pretty dang cheap. So it's just having that opportunity to speak to the client, point out to them, hey, this isn't going to be a crazy expensive process. Or a process, it's not going to be expensive and it's not going to be too extensive for you. We can get you in and out and done. And walking a client through that is going to make them more prone to doing it. So as we see some of the declination of coverage going on, to me, that's a lot of people look at that as gloom and doom in our industry. I look at just the opposite. I think it's just because we haven't gotten in front of them. So one thing that we've wanted to do is perpetuate a age-old practice, which is the policy review. And so, one thing about a policy review, keep in mind, does that mean that you're only discussing a policy review for a client you currently had? No. Most often, the best policy reviews are when you're talking to your client and you're going to take a look at the review of a policy that somebody else wrote. So when you're talking to your client, hey, yeah, I'm looking at this $500,000 term. Great. Do you have any existing coverage? Well, yeah, I do, but I'm not looking to replace that. Well, great. Can I do a policy review, a free policy review? Your client's going to, okay, yeah. And I'm just trying to make sure that it's still meeting your insurance needs. It's a key component to every marketing, but we do it a great deal here at Cover at National Brokerage. Cover, we have a client direct portion, and that alone has changed our premium immensely. And we're not trying to sell anything because it's institutional stuff. We just truly look for the best interest of the client. But posing that question, doing a free policy review, and oftentimes just asking the client, are you doing the old insurance or are you doing the new insurance? The old insurance being, hey, I get a death benefit. The new insurance, hey, I've got living benefit. So it's a big process that we want to definitely capitalize.
So, thanks, Greg. Speaking of policy reviews, so I just want to touch on this. Is doing a policy review always the most fun and sexy thing to talk about? Maybe not. But if you add it to your routine of what you do, chances are you can make more money doing policy reviews than you can writing new business. So I'm going to keep this simple for you. Policy review, what is it? Like Greg said, it's just doing just a regular checkup on your policy. You can call it a health check or a policy review. Call it whatever feels natural to you, but you're just checking the policy to make sure it still fits their needs and is still the most competitive. And like also Greg said, the best way to lead into that is to ask if they have the new kind or the old kind. Well, what's the new kind of insurance? Oh, I'm glad you asked, Mr. Client. Let me take a look and show you. So that's how you dovetail into that. Why should you do policy reviews? If you aren't doing them now, you are cutting yourself and likely your clients short. I can't tell you how many we look at just to use some examples, that are 10-year terms that have, maybe 6 months left before they expire. And by not doing policy reviews, those policies just expire. And a lot of times the client's health has gotten worse and they can't get coverage elsewhere. Or if they do, they'd be highly rated. So doing that policy review, it makes you look like, the hero to them. You are the great agent who is keeping up with what's going on and looking out for them. And B, you are potentially saving them a lot of money in reality. Even though a conversion might cost more than what they're used to paying, it is still a better alternative a lot of times than going out and trying to find new coverage. So again, if you're not doing them now, you really should be. It should be a regular part of what you do. So the next logical question is, how do I do them? Where do I start? I've tried this before, but it's really hard going through my database of 1,000 cases. I don't know what to look for. So A, keep it simple, and B, get with your marketing rep here, because we've got systems that can take 90% of that work off your plate. We can filter out your list so that we're only looking at cases that are still active. I mean, how many of you have gone to do a policy review, thought you saw an opportunity, only to realize, oh, this policy lapsed 5 years ago, so I just wasted all that time. So we have systems in place to save you from wasting that time and to just filter out only the cases that are active. And then next step, of course, finding out, is the policy convertible? Is it not convertible? Is a conversion the best option? Those are the things that we help you with. We've got systems and processes that will help you do these policy reviews in the most time-efficient manner.
And when you're talking about policy reviews as well, keep one thing in mind, what are you going to look at when you're talking about filtering? It's not brain surgery, a couple of different opportunities that we've already taken a look at. If a client's been table rated in the past, we are the one industry that actually gets more competitive as time goes on, because medical advances helps diminish a risk of a certain health concern sometimes, and a client can get a better rate classification than they did in the past. So we've got a lot of clients on the books that maybe have a table 4 rating, and they did so because they didn't have really good control of whatever, heart, maybe diabetes, what have you, but now they've gotten better control of it. So it's an opportunity to look at any table rated case and say, gosh, you got table 4 10 years ago, even though you're older, let's see if we can get away from those table ratings. Maybe there's a carrier that's, doing better at this, or maybe you as a client are doing better. Maybe you've now got control of diabetes. There's huge opportunities, and you can save the client a great deal of money getting yourself a new sale, but it's a betterment for both of you guys because you're looking at it, and if it's not a situation that you can save them money, hey, you know what? I did a good job originally because your health hasn't improved, and it reaffirms that you did the right quote as well. So it's never a negative situation. It's a positive. But again, those are big opportunities to go back to those flat extras or table ratings, and we can easily and quickly do a search within our system and show you which cases those are.
I just want to give you a quick real-world example of what made me a believer about 1.5 years ago. Just by doing a quick scan with an agent on this database, we found what looked like a potential policy review situation. We looked at it. The client was 59 years old, or I should say 59 and a half years old. She was 9.5 years into a 10-year term. She originally got that term at standard, and it was for $1 million. She was paying somewhere around $1,500 annually. Turns out, since then, she had acquired cancer, and so she would not have been able to get coverage after this term expired. Had we not looked, that term would have expired, and she would have lost $1 million worth of coverage on top of all those premiums she had been paying for the past 9.5 years. So what we did is we looked at conversion options. Turns out it was convertible. He brought it to the client. Client, initially balked at the new price, but when considering the whole picture, she saw it as the best case scenario, converted the policy, and it turned into a $32,000 premium sale for that agent, just by doing a service for his client. So just to recap that in real world numbers, went from a $1,500 annual premium to a $32,000 premium, and he was a hero for saving the client's $1 million policy.
And there's a lot of examples out there in the industry, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have them to share as well with your marketing reps. So again, feel free to give the call to the rep. The one thing I do, I'm not going to belabor it, but I'm just going to hit upon it real quickly. On the policy reviews, a lost art is the senior settlements, so the life settlements. and I know they had a bad connotation in the industry, but I'm a big advocate of settlements when used properly. And one thing I want to stress is National Brokerage is only going to do it when it's a betterment to the client. And we're not going to do it just for a sale. So one thing about it on the settlements is, what is a settlement? A lot of people don't understand what it is. It's basically a third party purchasing the insurable interest on a client. So basically, if I have $1 million death benefit, I'm 75 years old, I don't need the policy anymore. And this is what a lot of people have. I've got a policy that I don't need anymore because unfortunately my child predeceased me. So I don't want to leave anything I have no one to leave the money to, so really I have no need for the insurance. We have a great deal of people that make a decision to just lapse their policy. So whether it be a term policy or a permanent policy, they just lapse it. Term, obviously they get nothing out of it. Permanent, they might have a little bit of cash accumulation. They take that cash, but beyond that, that's it. A settlement is a great opportunity saying, look, you are not going to use this policy. You have no need for the policy. Let's take a look at a settlement. Let's see if instead of giving you $10,000 of cash accumulation, maybe I can get you $100,000 on a settlement because I can purchase that policy. Also, another key opportunity there that we see a great deal of is clients that have a policy they had for, let's say, for a business reason or any other types of reasons, and they're just going to let it fall off because, again, they don't need the coverage. It's typically term coverage. And if they're near their conversion period, because, again, this has to be an older age clientele, it might be, hey, I'm 70 years old. This is my last year. I can convert. But you know what? At the end of this term, I'm not renewing it. I have no interest in this. It was covering a business loan. My business is doing fine. I don't need this anymore. Well, now we have an opportunity to do a conversion. You get full commission on that conversion, and then the client gets a settlement amount, and they get cash payout on a policy they would have got $0. They can get considerable amount of dollars. So depending on their health, we can write that. And again, this is something that just think of the opportunity. And just keep it in mind, because what we see are clients that are in this type of scenario that we will unveil the opportunity. But again, it takes you to bring the opportunity to us. Show us, hey, I have this client. It might be a settlement. I don't know. What do you think? And we can have the conversation. Typically, a typical client, 74 years of age or older, types of insurance, UL, term, whole life, variable, and a face amount minimum of $100,000. Typically what they're looking for is whatever they were initially quoted, they had a health change for the worse. And it doesn't have to be catastrophic, but it's just not as good as, hey, before they got preferred non-tobacco, now they're controlled diabetic. Still controlled, it's not the end of the world, but that helps out a settlement. So I pointed out to you, just kind of, back of the drawing board, if you will, keep it in mind. It is a great opportunity. It's a huge way to help out a client. You can change a client's life. They have a policy that they expected nothing out of when they surrendered it, and now you're giving them a large sum of money off a settlement. They greatly appreciate it. There are a lot of pluses to it, but again, we'll help you navigate it to make sure that there's not a pitfall to it for the client and or for you. Again, it's pluses for you because you get paid for the settlement, and it's also you get full commission on any type of conversion or life sale as well.
Okay, listening to our customers. It looks like I spelled that wrong, but I should say listening to our customers. So one of the benefits, as Greg mentioned earlier, to working with Cover on the consumer direct side is we've learned a lot about consumer behaviors and patterns and what they really do value compared to what we maybe thought they valued. So one of the things that sounds kind of obvious, but I'll say it anyways, is that they demand more now than they used to. Whereas it used to be they more or less, they had an agent, they had a guy that they called. Now they demand a little bit more from that agent. They want a lot of information, and then they want time to think it over, and it's up to the agent to follow up pretty persistently and consistently to help them out. Also, the traditional distribution methods are becoming obsolete. Like we talked about, I won't harp on it a lot, but the traditional way of doing a paper application and sitting at the kitchen table and doing it all the long way and then waiting 60 days for everything to go through, that's becoming more and more obsolete as carriers move toward accelerated underwriting and simplified issue type options. So some of those old methods are becoming obsolete.
And one thing also, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but on the opportunities for growth, again, we're kind of all over the board here on this last slide of our webcast today, as just some of the kind of, I think it's an interesting fact. 47% of our clients did GULs, not our clients, national brokerage, in the country. The 40% of the permanent plans that were written were GUL. Now it's 17%. However, one thing that we are seeing in national brokerage is we still write a great deal of guaranteed universal life. And is that because of what we're accustomed to as our marketing rep force from national brokerage and our agents? Or is that truly listening to our clients? As much as we're trying to listen to you on generating new next generation tools for you, we need to listen to our clients. Most clients aren't clamoring for a GUL. They're clamoring for cash accumulation to diversify retirement. They want another policy to possibly accommodate their living benefits that might happen for, because they're concerned about long-term care. Is a GUL going to do that? No. Typically, an indexed universal life will have the cash accumulation. It has guarantees. It has living benefits. It has flexibility that a GUL doesn't have. So I just want to point that out, that it's a big component of just listening to your clients, not in insurance terms, just in, hey, what keeps you up at night, Mr. or Mrs. Client? And we want to make sure that we are getting you the insurance for what you think about, and open up their eyes that, hey, we're talking life insurance, but life insurance do have living benefits. Is that a concern to you? Oh yeah, I didn't even know this. I didn't even know I could have that part of the conversation on life insurance. So it's really something of educating them just by giving them, kind of little quick pointers of what's available to them. So, within the different marketplaces, as for what Mike even kind of hit upon, if clients are demanding more of the agents, it's not more like of your time. It's just, if you are doing a paper application, it's like, really? Did I just fill out a paper application? I could do Rocket Mortgage right now for my mortgage, and now my insurance is more complicated than that. They just don't understand why insurance is this complicated. Well, we need to take the pain points out that we can, hence the reason we're doing the app team, hence the reason we're doing the DocuSign. We are doing things and bringing tools to them that, quite frankly, they expect from other industries, and they should expect it of us as well.
So that's a good point, Greg. So just a little piece on customer loyalty and defining what that means, kind of to Greg's point, is that it used to be that customer loyalty was gained through maybe our personality, maybe they liked us or what we did for them, but it's more trending towards the experience now. And I'm sure you've heard that buzzword a lot, but that's really what it's going towards. So it's going towards the experience of the process. So again, to Greg's point, the old way of sitting at the table and doing it, all on a paper app that takes an hour, and the long waiting time after that, that's a terrible experience, and that does not gain you any customer loyalty. But doing it the easy way, providing them the tools that they want, and saying, here, Mr. Client, here are some options. Here's a tool where you can actually run a health check on yourself and get an idea for how it looks. And here's a tool that we can use to get this done much faster than the old way. Those are the ways to gain customer loyalty, is by delivering those type of tools to the end consumer.
And we want to be, as the last point, proactive, not reactive. Within our industry, we want to show you different marketing opportunities. So don't just think of it as, hey, great, national brokerage can do the processing. Oh, great, national brokerage can do the quote when I need it. What can we do to help generate the next opportunity for you as well? How can we help harvest data within your clientele to get you to your next client, rather than accommodating you when you bring us the client, which we obviously appreciate, and that's how we grow. But we want to also help you grow within your practice. So talk to your marketing rep. Say, hey, this is what I do. This is where I keep my client data. How can I take advantage of this client data? How can I get to that next customer that doesn't even know that I need to be calling them? Engage with your marketing rep. Think outside the box. We want to make a long-term solution, not a short-term solution for you, for not only today's sale, but tomorrow's. So with that, we greatly appreciate you taking as much time as you have out of your day to join us today. Feel free to call us at 800-377-6344, and then you go directly to your marketing rep and take a look at us on YouTube or our NAP Brokers website. With that, thank you very much and have a great day.